Right, welcome to the practice today. We will need a few things, so hence why I mentioned at the very beginning, I prepared a blanket that's more for comfort. What it might be good to have is at least one block or something that can function as such, and a strap, and that's what I think you might not have near you. So a strap can be easily replaced with a belt, a shawl, a long towel, anything like that. So we never actually need the proper yoga props. As long as you've got something that can replace that, that would be great. So let us start lying down on the backs, and I do suggest a very comfortable position here. So as you lie down on your backs, perhaps nestle in a little bit, wiggling the shoulders down towards the floor, for example, perhaps bending the knees and moving the pelvis lightly, finding your personal lying position on the floor or on your mat. So once you're lying down on your back and you feel reasonably comfortable, you've kind of got your props within reach of an arm. Now you're closing your eyes, and if that isn't available to you today, maybe looking up towards the ceiling above you. As you come to lie down, and as I mentioned, lying on the floor and perhaps looking at the ceiling, we're already working with opposites, and that is what we will focus on today. So the opposite of you being quite heavy on the floor, exposed to the opposite, that is, air, softness around you. I have also chosen a card today, or the card actually popped out of the deck, as they sometimes do for reminders, and this one is from the Namaste deck. This card says a blessing from the Divine Mother, and further, a previously closed door now opens. This is a blessing and a fortunate time for you, but be mindful, humble, and grounded. Feel your connection to the earth. Feel her energy and love in your heart, and know that you are eternally blessed by the Divine Mother. And I can highly encourage you to take this on board as we look in towards the opposite, and maybe seizing an opportunity again to learn a bit more about ourselves. So the knees might be bent today, the feet might be on the floor. Checking in with the positioning of your lower back, and perhaps stepping the feet to a place where the lower back's curve is still present. Letting arms be easy, maybe feet a little wider and the knees falling in for more comfort. As we begin with a breathing technique that works with the opposites, and that is Viloma Pranayama, so working against the grain. You might like to begin in your position on the floor by taking a breath into your belly, expanding the breath to the lower rib cage, taking it up toward your collarbones. As you have a brief pause when you're filled with air, and then exhaling from your collarbones down to the ribs, down to the belly, and breathing into your abdomen again, to your lower ribs, to your collarbones. Perhaps a short pause once the lungs are full, and then out from the top downwards. to the ribs, and to the belly. Take a pause from your breathing practice and just observe. I will offer to repeat this technique now, and I will add the counting. If the counting bothers you, just breathing in and out as you did before. Breathing into your belly for 3, 2, 1. Lower ribs, 3, 2, 1. To the collarbones, 3, 2, 1. Maybe pausing at the top of your breath. And then exhaling down from the top to the bottom for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And breathing back into your belly. 3, 2, 1. The lower ribs. 3, 2, 1. Up to the collarbones. 3, 2, 1. Perhaps a pause. And out from the top again for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And pausing the technique as you observe with a natural, effortless breath. Perhaps entering one more round, whereas in this round, you will count yourself if you choose the counting method as you breathe to belly, ribs, and collarbones, each for a count of 3. And then as you, after a short pause, breathe out from the top to the bottom for a count of 9 if you're counting. So 2 rounds in your own counting. Perhaps noticing if you're counting a little bit faster. Whenever you have completed these 2 rounds of Viloma, again, just simply focusing on anything that you notice, perhaps subtle differences. As your breath flows more naturally, perhaps you're even feeling more relaxed or perhaps even energized. Looking at these opposites, which both might be desirable outcomes of the practice. Before we begin to actually move, you might like to set an intention for this practice. Think about opposites, and perhaps there is something that you would like to turn into the opposite in your life, on your mat. And even if there isn't, just setting an intention that is right for you today. Carrying this intention with you into the practice. As on your back now, you might prepare the strap and have it very close by. Bringing then the right knee with a hug to the chest, and perhaps extending your left leg out long. On and out breath, you might choose to lift your nose up towards the knee, perhaps even hovering the straight leg off the ground. And as you inhale, gently lying back down. We'll do that again as you breathe out, draw the knee to the chest, perhaps nose to knee, maybe the extended leg is lifting. On the in-breath, lying back down. We'll do that one more time. On the exhale, lifting maybe, or just hugging in. And then releasing your back again onto the floor, keeping your knee tightly hugged in as you circle the foot in the air. Then circling the other way around. And then perhaps changing the hold to behind the thigh as you begin to extend the leg, and on the out breath, bend and hug it in again. So for the inhale, extending the leg. On the out breath, hugging it back in. Let's do that one more time. Inhaling to extend and exhaling to hug it in. You might at this point reach for the strap and place the strap around the ball of your right foot. Extending your leg again as you breathe in, this time letting your hands slide down the ends of your strap, and I'll just call it that, whatever you're holding or using here. And if that is long enough, slide the hands down so much that your shoulders and upper arms, elbows are on the floor. If it's still long enough, wrap your hands around it and keep the hold here. I would ask you to try and draw the right hip a little bit downwards and flexing through the left foot. So perhaps the pelvis is in a more balanced position. And while you breathe out, then drawing the leg in toward your body. You might find that it gets quite close and you could shorten the strap. Perhaps using the strap here to keep the leg actually extended. There can be a subtle bend in the knee to avoid overstretching. Taking it that little bit closer yet again as you breathe out. And while we hold a strap, we might as well take the opportunity of putting both ends of it together, taking a hold just with the right hand, letting the left arm just fall out to the side. And as you breathe in, let the right leg fall out towards the side. I've limited you with the ball. Hope you've got nothing in the way. And maybe landing your elbow back onto the ground so you can control the opening of the leg out towards the side a bit better. Perhaps landing the left hand on top of your hip and aiming to gently ground the side of the hip back towards the mat. Helping your leg back up as you take a breath in, changing the hand on the strap. And as you breathe out, if that works for you, take the straight leg over to the side. I've done the same thing here. I've landed my elbow back to the floor, so I've got good control here. My movement here is still limited due to things going on in the hip, but you might actually reach the leg all the way across, depending on the mobility and condition of your hip. Taking the leg back into the center and slipping the strap away from the leg, keeping the leg facing up and grounding both arms by the sides, the palms touching the mat. If you like, you can slide your fingertips under the lower part of your buttocks, firming up your core as if you're taking a zipper up of a tight pair of jeans, and breathing out to slowly lower the extended leg towards the floor. If you find this is a bit much for your lower back, bend the knee and step the foot down. Let's step the left foot down onto the mat as well. Leaving your arms by the sides, the palms touching the floor, sliding the feet up a little bit closer towards your bottom. As you breathe in, squeezing the buttocks and lifting the hips up for a bridge movement. While breathing out, rolling the spine back down onto the floor. We'll repeat that for 3 breaths all together. So second one, breathing in to lift the hips. And breathing out to roll back onto the mat. One more time, breathing in, squeezing up. and out to roll the spine back down onto the mat. As you land again, you might like to change sides, bringing your left knee to the chest, giving that a little squeeze in, and perhaps extending the right leg out long. If you do extend the right leg out, please flex the foot for good alignment. And as an option on the out breath, might you lift your nose up to your knee and perhaps the extended leg lifts a little bit off the mat. On your in breath, lie back down. On the out breath, nose to knee, maybe straight leg off the floor for some extra strength. On the inhale, lying back down, and perhaps one more time, breathing out as you're lifting up. And releasing back onto the mat. Keeping the knee hugged in towards the chest. Slide the hands to take a hold underneath, so that you're holding onto the back of the thigh. On your inhale, extending your left leg up towards the ceiling. On your out breath, hugging the knee back into the chest. We'll repeat that for 2 more breaths. Inhaling, extending. And exhaling to hug it in. Last round here. Inhale, extend the leg. And exhale to hug it back in. While the leg is hugged in, take the strap again and place it around the ball of the left foot. My hands are already sliding down the 2 ends of the strap and then extending the leg up toward the ceiling. As you slide your hands down, if the length of your strap allows you to, let the shoulders and elbows, upper arms rest on the floor. Perhaps the leg is extended here, and perhaps we're starting to draw the left hip down while keeping the right foot flexed. On the out breath, then drawing the leg in toward you. And as you draw it in, keeping this alignment, perhaps shortening the hold on the strap. Still comfortable in the upper body, drawing your leg in towards you, the hips in balance. Holding for a little as you breathe. As you might be aware, everything there is optional. While you bring the 2 ends of your strap together, reach for both ends with the left hand. Perhaps your right arm falls out and away to the side. And then as you're inhaling, opening your leg to have better control, landing your elbow on the side as the leg falls out. You might then choose to place the right hand onto the right side of the hip, assisting you to keep both sides of your buttocks grounded while you're opening the leg to the side. As you inhale, bring your leg back to center, perhaps changing the hand on the strap. Left arm might fall away as you carefully guide the straight leg across the body. You might do the same here, just landing your elbow to the floor for a bit of better controlling. And yes, you would roll to the side of the hip here. Maybe the shoulders are staying grounded. As you guide your leg back up, release the strap from your foot. Bring the arms by the sides, perhaps drawing the hands back until underneath the lower part of your bottom, flexing the foot. And as you exhale, lowering your straight leg down slowly. Core is on as if you're drawing in and upwards. And again, the option of bending the knee if required. So once the leg has landed, draw both legs up towards you and give both knees a loving embrace. And it might prompt you to rock for a little while from side to side, which might feel good. As you find stillness in the hug of both knees, breathe in, and if suitable, exhaling to tuck your nose up towards the knees and maybe embracing the knees with both of your arms as far as you might be able to, and perhaps keeping the hug as you lower your upper body back down. Releasing your arms to either side as you inhale, and the knees moving to the right on the exhale, center on the inhale, left. And then just rocking your knees for a little while here from side to side. If the floating feet aren't suitable, you can ground the feet and do the twist from there. Now let's roll all the way to the left-hand side, perhaps even using your left arm as a cushioning underneath the head. You might have both of your knees a little bit bent, but the body's aligned over the mat. Now, some of you might need the strap around the right ankle here. I will practice without, and you could do the same if you are able to reach for your ankle with your right hand touching right ankle or holding onto the foot. Sometimes if your pants are a bit wider, you can hold on to the end of the leg here. So the movement from there is a breath out as you're curling your body in, your knee to your chest. And while you're breathing in, and you can breathe as fast or slow as you like, drawing the foot back into the hand, opening your chest like in a dancer pose. So for the out breath, curling in. For the in breath, opening up. See if you can flow with this movement for a few more breaths. Maybe 2 more breaths. And once completed, resting your knees back together, letting go of the ankle or your foot, opening your arms as you breathe in into a lying twist, and as you breathe out, pulling your knees up. So rolling over now onto your right hand side, which means I will have to turn my back to you. The right arm could be a cushion underneath the head. Both knees could be bent on the floor. And if available to you, taking a hold here of the left foot or ankle. We'll do the same. On the out breath, curling the knee in, rounding your spine. On your in breath, bring the knee behind the foot to the hand, opening chest and hip. Breathing out to curl in. And inhaling to span open. Let's do 3 more breaths. Exhaling to round. Inhaling to open. Exhaling, curl in. Inhale to side lying dancer. And your last round. As you complete landing your knees back together, this time opening out again as you breathe in to a twist. So we've got the same movement happening. But as you breathe out now, rolling over your right hand side to lie down on your tummy. Perhaps letting your elbows open out onto the floor on either side of you. Tops of the feet resting on the floor. Forehead might be down. And with your elbows resting on the floor, the hands are framing the head. Your thumbs are aligning with your eyes. And as you take your next inhale, push the hands into the ground, raise the elbows, lift head and chest, and then draw the elbows underneath the shoulders. So this is a swings pose. If you find there's irritation in your back, slide your forearms a little bit further forward and see if that works for you. As you ground through the forearms here, the tops of the feet firmly into the floor, begin to tuck the pubic bone down onto the mat and then lifting your sternum forward. We will pause here in swings pose for a few breaths, keeping your lower body active while the heart is reaching forward. Perhaps even considering to breathe all the way up from the feet to the heart and back out to the top of the head. As you might choose to stay here or flatten the body out onto the mat for a rest. For those of you wanting to stay here, tuck the tops of the feet firmly into the ground. Perhaps begin to lift your hips here for a pointed kneeling plank or even a pointed plank. So the hips might come off the floor. Maybe the knees are off the mat as well. I will ground my knees again. And then slowly lowering the pelvis, opening your elbows back out, and coming to lie back down onto the front of the body. Especially if you're engaged with the plank, you might want to bend both knees and let the knees just sway for a moment from side to side. Not necessary, keeping legs grounded, perhaps just a little wiggle into the pelvic area. Once you've released, ground the legs again and bring the hands underneath the shoulders, tucking elbows to your sides. With the inhale, rise onto the hands and the knees and take a little seat back towards a supportive child's pose if you find that comfortable. There's no need to bring the head to the floor if it's not resting there, but perhaps curling yourself in, maybe wiggling slightly, finding your spot. As you then inhale, lift your hips back up, tucking toes under, and perhaps lifting the knees off the floor as you find a standing forward bend, maybe at the end of the mat. Have a look at your feet and align the outer edges of the feet. And take an out breath as you curl your spine up into a standing position, giving your shoulders a gentle shrug back. As you come to stand, take a little walk towards the front side of your mat, coming to stand there at the shorter front edge of the mat. With the feet still in a parallel position, take an inhale and reach both arms up over your head. If you like, you can find Charlie's Angel's Mudra there. That's an interlace of the hands, the index fingers touching. I will keep my hands low. If your shoulders are irritated, you can do the same. On the next out breath, now bending to your right. Palm tree movement as you inhale, center, and to the opposite, and breathing out. Inhaling, come to center. Let's sway that palm tree for a couple more rounds to each side. And as we come to our last side, perhaps holding here, releasing the mudra and maybe lifting the right foot off the floor, opening the arms out into a star position, maybe pointing the toes. Stars are sparkly, so maybe sparkle a little bit through your fingers, moving the foot in the air. And then landing the foot back down where it was, releasing your arms by the sides, turning the hands forward as we come back into mountain pose. On the inhale, lifting your arms back up, and as you interlace the hands back to Charlie's Angels, checking out that the fingers are the opposite that are in front, if you like to swap. Same options, arms fully extended, our hands at your heart. And as you're exhaling, now bending to the left first. Inhaling, coming to center, out breath to the right. We'll repeat a couple more times to each side, flowing with your breath. And we'll hold on the last side again. Separating the hands, opening the arms and lifting the left foot off the floor as you open your fingers, maybe pointing your toes there. Maybe sparkling through fingers, moving through the foot. Star pose. Landing the foot back down and releasing your arms as we return into mountain shape. I will step back a little, using now the long side of the mat. If you would like to change your position, this might be a good time. And stepping your feet out a little bit wider. We'll begin with the right foot turned towards the short side of the mat and the left heel lightly turned to the other short side. In this stance, you might bend the right knee and perhaps widening the stance to your liking. A maximum would be the thigh to the, parallel with the floor. However, what's more important is that the front knee is anchored over the ankle joint and that the whole of the back foot is grounded. Drawing the feet inwards will help to bring strength in. Also will start to engage your core muscles. And while you're inhaling, you might open your arms out to shoulder height. Now, I've deliberately turned my palms upward, knowing my shoulders, and you could do the same. You could even choose to have one facing down and one facing up, if that works for you better. Keeping your shoulders at ease, but allowing your gaze to be forward. And if, like for myself here with the shoulder issue, there's no hand to gaze at, find a steady gazing point right there in front of you. Virabhadrasana 2 or a warrior 2. As we reach here with opposite arms in opposite directions, we will change that again. As you breathe out, just tilting and opening your arms back up. So we're finding a side angle pose. The foundation here is unchanged, exactly the same legs as the arms are changed here. I think it was last week where we were stepping forward and back. We're not stepping anywhere, but we're using that action as you bring more emphasis into the front foot. And then take your arms in the opposite direction. Exalted warrior shape or warrior 4. Your upper arm might be fully extended and reaching back. And you might have chosen to change your gazing point. Have a feel into your legs, not looking, just feeling. Are you still aligning your front knee with your ankle? Are your feet still drawing inwards? Can you just go by feelings and sensations? We'll release that by rolling the arm in, releasing arms and then extending legs and standing straight with wide legs just facing the long side of the mat. Can you pause here and just notice the difference between your right and your left leg? But we always try and find balance, practicing both sides evenly. This might still feel very different for your body. Let's turn the left toes to face the short side of the mat and the right heel lightly to face the other short side. Beginning with the bend in the left knee, then aligning that back over your ankle joint. We haven't changed our stance really, unless you have, but it might feel different here and you might find a lightly wider or shorter stance more suitable. Aligning this front knee with the toes and drawing the feet lightly inwards to build up strength. And while you breathe in, lifting your arms out, or not for the matter. Finding your position here with palms either facing up or down, and you might experiment on this side, it might feel different for you. Nevertheless, allowing a drishti, a steady gazing point, which is in this posture definitely forward. If there's fingertips to look along, look slightly beyond them. Maintain your inner strength and your steady gazing point. The warriors might help you toward your intention today. On your next out, by tilting the shape, one arm up, one arm down, or hand in the waist if required. Maintaining your stance as the feet are lightly drawing inwards, the heart is open, the knee is still aligned. And we're still reaching to opposites, now down and up. Using the weight into the front foot as you exalt the warrior. The legs are still drawing inwards as you might reach your arm over the head. The other hand loosely on the back leg and maybe turning the gaze. Finding your gazing point. To release that, bend your back knee a little, roll your arm in and find your stance in the middle. Heeling and toeing your feet together and maybe bringing them all the way to touch. Again, maybe it's the opposite that you're doing here. Legs wide and now touching. Let's breathe in and lift the arms up. Hands could end at the heart as you breathe out into a chair pose. Now, when your legs are touching, there's that option of gently squeezing the legs together. And while you squeeze them together, let your sitting bones open out and zip up your jeans again so you're nicely supported in the lower part of your body. You could extend your arms from here. Perhaps they're reaching forward or even up and around your ears. As you hold the stability, that light squeeze between the legs, inhale. And as you exhale, touch the palms and go into a twist to the right. Whether your elbows are floating or they're coming to the outside of the knee, there's your choice. Pressing the palms together to deepen your twist and keeping your knees moving gently against each other to maintain the balance in the legs and with that, the alignment of your pelvis. Now push down into your feet and rise all the way up, perhaps even extending your arms up as you inhale. And hands back to heart as you breathe out, re-entering this chair pose or Utkatasana. So the same happens again. We're drawing the legs inwards, letting the sitting bones open and zipping up our jeans. From that stability, we might extend the arms forward or around the ears. Breathing in. On the exhale, touch the palms together and come into a twist. You can float this twist or you can place the elbow down. More important is that the knees are still parallel. You're pressing the palms together. And with that, you might get a little bit deeper into the twist of your spine. Lifting back up. As we take a deep breath, extending the arms. And as you breathe out, releasing the arms again by the sides. Stepping your feet back out nice and wide. Taking the hands behind the back and maybe interlacing the hands here. Draw the arms down the back. Look at the outer edges of the feet, or even have a light pigeon toed stance. As you draw your arms a little back, opening your heart, inhale. And then bending the knees as you fold forward. Releasing the upper body forward to the extent that feels right. You might choose to have your arms lifted. You might choose to have them resting. If you're resting the arms, make an effort to draw the shoulder blades a little bit closer. And leaning your weight all the way forward towards your toes. Perhaps having a little bend here in the knees, if that feels right for you. As you next release your hands on the inhale towards the mat, breathe out and still be heavy towards the floor. Then heel and toe your feet back to about hip distance and uncurl the spine on a breath out, coming into a standing pose. Now I'm coming over to the side here to grab a block, and I will place this block out in front of me. I'm after 2 half moons today, and this is why I'm facing you. So I'd love you to face with your left toes towards the block, placing the left hand onto a block. Have the right foot a little bit back. I will turn myself sideways. And then bring the other hand, right one, into the side of the waist. Keep your gaze down, and perhaps the back leg is starting to lift. As you raise this leg, flex the foot. While you might keep your gaze down, aim to stack your hips, perhaps even the shoulders. And for some, you might even lift your arm. As you reach your top arm down to the block, turn your hips towards the mat. Find length in your spine forward and flex your foot downward. Maybe the other hand goes to the side of the waist, and perhaps you're rolling the shoulder back there. And if your balance is off, tap the big toe to the ground and try and twist anyway. Perhaps here the arm lifts too. Revolved half moon. Let's release the arm down, the feet next to each other, and soften towards a forward fold. Just let your body hang down. Breathing out to uncurl to a standing position. Take the shoulders with you as you inhale and shrug them back on the exhale. So let's try the other side, facing with the right toes to the block. I always leave a gap because there's a gap here between my arm and my hip. Placing the right hand down, the left hand to the side of the waist. It's the left foot that's a little bit behind here. You might then choose to lift that foot off the floor and flex the foot. Maybe the hips are stacking. Maybe your shoulders are stacking. And perhaps your arm extends towards the ceiling. So these are just the options for Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. Keeping the leg in the air, usually active. And as you take the hand from above to touch the block as well, Begin to turn the body to face downward, your toes to face down, the leg is still lifted. And we'll bring the other hand into the side of the waist. It's perfectly fine to tap the big toe to the floor, perhaps starting to rotate the right shoulder, getting into the twisted version of the half moon of Parivrita Ardha Chandrasana. The same option, you might extend your arm. We will release the foot to the floor and again bow down into a standing forward bend. Taking a breath in for a half lift to extend your spine. And with your out breath, bringing hands and knees down to the mat. I will use a blanket here to sit upon as a little elevation, and I kind of fold it to the maximum that there is to sit upon. If you prefer the rolled up end of your mat, that might be a good option as well. Perhaps opening the legs out wide when you're ready. Flexing the feet. And if you find this elevation, yeah, it's nice, but you're kind of still leaning back. If you have a block or even two, you could pop them underneath the thighs, the knees somewhere, making the posture a little bit more accessible. Different variations for you. The hands might be down behind you or the fingertips. And we're just pulling ourselves up long, lifting a little bit from the heart and then turning towards the right. And perhaps you do what I'm doing and sway a little bit to wiggle yourself there. And when you're breathing out, starting to fold over the right leg. Now, when the leg is extended, this might feel like a deep pull. You can always choose to bend the knee here and find or approach it with a bit more ease. Allowing another 2 deep breaths here. As you inhale, lift your heart, walking the hands back up as you breathe out, and then wiggle yourself to the other side. So make any last wiggles, adjustments, including a bend in the knee. And when you breathe out, start to walk towards the left leg as you lower into a stretch. Keeping your feet in a flexion, a light twist in your upper body. Let's walk the hands back up towards us, coming into the center, and perhaps bending both knees and placing the feet down onto the floor. I would love you to have one block ready as we lie down and the strap as well. When we come to lie down on our backs, we will use the block under a foot and the strap on the other. So as you lie down onto your back, placing the block down to put your left foot upon, lifting the right knee towards the chest and taking the strap around the ball of the foot again. As you take a hold of both ends of the strap, drawing the right side of the hip a little bit down, aligning it with the left, and then drawing your leg in towards you. We will only hold here, and you might find that this experience here is a little bit different to the one you had at the beginning of the class, not only because you moved, maybe also because there is a foot on a block. So if you would like to try what this feels like without, keep the hold on the strap, take your foot and slide the block to the other side in preparation, landing the foot on the floor and then drawing back in, just noticing the difference. Then bending into the right knee, let the strap release and land your right foot on the block. Taking the strap around the ball of the left foot, extending the leg towards the ceiling and sliding hands down the strap. Same setup here as you draw the leg in towards your body. It's the left hip now that's slightly drawing downwards to align with the right. Keeping a hold on the ends of your strap. If you would like to try again without the block, lift the right foot, push the block off your mat, land the foot down, and keep drawing your leg inwards. Softening the grip on the strap as you bring the right foot in together with the left, and just holding your feet up there, arms relaxed. Maybe you don't even need the strap. Perhaps the strap provides you with a little bit of extra support. If you dare, release the strap from your feet. Arms by the sides, perhaps hands underneath the lower part of your bottom. You might zip up your jeans before you breathe out to slowly lower your flexed feet and legs towards the mat. The same applies here. There's lower back discomfort, bend your knees, and complete with bent knees, landing the feet slowly to the floor or extended legs. As you remove the hands from underneath, you might have that little wiggle that provides you here with enough comfort so you can slide your legs out or rest them over a support, coming into Shavasana, your resting posture. So perhaps you could drop right back in, perhaps you cover yourself with a blanket if it's a bit fresh where you are. Maybe using a thin cushioning for the head if that feels right. Maybe closing your eyes once more. Perhaps let the shoulders slide a little bit under so the shoulder blades come a bit closer. And as you come to lie on the floor, noticing your right side, noticing your left side. Noticing the space between the right and the left side. Noticing your feet. Bringing awareness to the head. Bringing awareness to the body between the feet and the head. Resting in the body, lying on the floor. Perhaps extending your awareness toward the intention that you set earlier, if there was any. Allow yourself to scan the body for any emotions that you might find there at this point. Perhaps also using an emotion instead that is attached to your intention. If there's nothing occurring to you, just stay with the attention that you can draw. And if an emotion is present, notice where and how you feel it in your body. Noticing thoughts or images that accompany this emotion. And welcoming this experience just as it is, without judging or trying to change it. As you're sensing this emotion, if it is helpful, locate an opposite of this emotion. And where and how you experience this opposite in your body. If it is helpful, invite in a memory that encourages this opposite of emotion more fully into your body. And if it feels right, moving then back and forth between these opposites, experiencing first one in the body and then its opposite. Moving at your own pace, sensing in return how emotions impact your body and mind. When you're ready, perhaps sensing both emotions at the same time, experience this effect on your entire body and mind. How does it unfold? And letting everything just be as is. Emotions, sensations, thoughts. Feeling yourself everywhere, but nowhere specifically. As an undeniable presence of being and well-being. Nothing to do, nowhere to be. Imagine yourself going about your day with the intention to welcome various emotions that arise as messengers, knowing there's a perfect response to each moment that feels in harmony with yourself and all of life. Allowing your breath to deepen. Perhaps movement comes back to fingers, toes, or you extend the movement into your body. Perhaps you feel like reaching to the opposite in a full body stretch, reaching up with your arms and down into your toes. And then in your own way, maybe rolling onto your side or perhaps rising over the front of the body, joining me in a seated pose. You might touch your opposite hands together, palms, as you rest the thumbs toward your sternum in Anjali Mudra. Noticing the way you sit, grounded, and all of the beautiful space that is around the head. You are right there in your center. And from this center, With a light bow, we're extending toward each other. Namaste. I will do my usual magic. Stop the recording.